And now it's a little bit after 10 o'clock, and I would like to introduce Andrea Berry. Andrea is Idealware's Director of Partnerships and Learning, and she oversees Idealware's fundraising and training activities. She travels the country training nonprofits on technology best practices. She specializes in fundraising and communications, and she has worked with thousands of nonprofits to help address mission-centric technology issues. And with that, Andrea, I will turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Well, I'm thrilled to be here, and thank you so much, Catherine, for inviting me. I am really excited to be leading this class on the path to social media engagement for all of you with the River Network. And we'll be running through a whole bunch of content today. As Catherine mentioned, this is really designed to be an interactive webinar. You know, we all hear the, every 10 minutes everybody should be asked a question or should be encouraged to participate. And we don't do that all the time at Idealware, and we don't do it lightly, but we do it because we want to make sure that this becomes your training, that you hear the information that you want to hear, that you get a chance to ask your own questions and tailor it to your experiences. So I want to hear what it is that you are thinking, what kind of experiences you've had so that we can all learn from each other. All right, so with that, and Catherine's given me a very nice introduction. I just want to add to that, which is that Idealware is a small organization. We only have 7 staff members at the moment, and when I started here, it was just me and our executive director. And I worked with our executive director to create our social media strategy from scratch for our small little organization, and have run it up until about November of last year when we hired our very first marketing staff member who took it over from me. So I've been there with, in the same situation as you guys, in the trenches, trying to figure out what in the world do these social media tools do, how do we make them the most effective for our constituents. And so I've thought a lot about that from not only the research side and speaking with nonprofits about what they do and what's working and what's not working, but also from the trial and error side. And so I'm excited to bring that bit of experience to you guys. A little bit about Idealware. We are a nonprofit organization ourselves based up in Portland, Maine, and our mission is to help nonprofits make smart technology decisions. We do that by doing in-depth research into all different areas of nonprofit tech, everything from social media to accounting systems and kind of all the areas in between. And then we take that information and we package it in a variety of different ways. We have hundreds of free articles on our website, which is just down at the bottom of your screen, www.idealware.org. We also have reports. We put about I'd say 3 to 4 reports out each month that are more in-depth looks at specific types of technology, or specifically we put out maybe 3 workbooks each year, which help you to work through processes and dive down deep into different areas of technology questions. We have 2 workbooks which are really appropriate for this class, which I'll make sure Catherine has to send out to you guys along with the recording and the slides afterwards. We've created a workbook all around how to create a social media strategy, and we also have a workbook on social media policy and kind of creating a effective and appropriate policy for your organization. We also have free and for-cost trainings. So in addition to the partnerships that we form with networks across the country, like what we're leading today with the River Network, we lead our own webinars and live trainings. So I encourage you to maybe sign up for our e-news, which is really really the best way to find out what new articles, what new reports, and what new trainings are coming up. All right, so enough about Idealware. Let's talk about today's class. So what are we going to cover today? Today we're going to be looking at goals. We're going to talk about what engagement actually is. So what do we mean when we are getting people involved in social media? Is that just people clicking the like button, or is that people actually interacting with you, and what does that mean? We're going to talk about how we can practice engagement. What does that actually look like? And we've pulled a huge number of examples from water-focused nonprofits themselves, some of them from some of you guys on the phone and on the training today. some of them from other organizations that aren't included, and we'll finish out today's class talking about next steps. So what does it mean to learn from this class, and what can we do moving forward? All right. So throughout this class, we want to think really critically about this particular challenge. How in the world do you think like a social media user? Because this single piece is the absolute key in every single way to encouraging interaction and getting people engaged with social media. If you think about social media as you think about many of your other communications tools, as the same way you might your newsletter or a ad that you're putting in the newspaper, you're not going to have success, because the reality of social media is that it's a two-way conversation. It is inherently social, and it is your job to put yourself in the shoes of a regular social media user. A lot of you are doing this already because you're using social media as individuals, let alone as organizations, and you want to kind of continue to channel that personal use so that you can always put that set of glasses on or that filter saying, well, as a real social media user, would I actually respond to this? And I promise you, if you have that simple check, that simple thought, that you will greatly improve the way that you're using social media. Now you need to think about social media, again, as this kind of two-way tool, and figure out not how you can manipulate social media to do what you want it to do, but the truth of the matter here is that you need to change a little bit and be flexible for how social media works, and change up your activities to work within the confines of the social media world, which honestly don't have that many confines, so it shouldn't be that much trouble. Now, you absolutely need to remember why you're using social media and why other people are using social media, because I promise you, if you ask the majority of your constituents who you're trying to interact with via social media why they joined, they are not going to tell you that the reason that they joined social media was to learn about updates from you. That's just the straight up reality here, that they learned so that they could, post updates to their friends and family, share pictures and videos. Maybe they want to market themselves or their organization, and they're not necessarily thinking about your organization. Almost everyone wants to learn about fun things to do and ways to just enjoy themselves. It's a social tool. It's a thing that when you're waiting at the bus stop and you want to get a laugh, you look at to see the funny jokes or the cute pictures that people have put up. Why did I join social media? To post pictures of my daughter, like the one that you're looking at here. It's all about the social piece. It's me, it's me, it's me. So we want to continue to remember that piece. Because really, we need to break through all of that social. The cute pictures of kids, the ridiculous cocktails or food, the cat pictures, the comic things that people have said. And we need to figure out how our organization can put up valuable content that's going to be compelling compared to this stuff that is kind of inherently compelling. I mean, yeah, I'm psyched about seeing pictures of friends' babies, and I'm really, enjoying the fact that my friend's 6-year-old is ridiculous. So, how do the organizations that catch my attention fit into that? Well, we're going to explore what it is that you can do so that you don't get passed by in the search for funny jokes and funny pictures and interesting things to eat, but instead so that you stand out, or at least you can compete among these different things. So your task is to engage your constituents in a way that really is truly social, putting the social first and the media second is going to be your solution here. Now, I want to pause and see if anybody has any questions. I know that we've just gone through basic introduction, but any questions before we move on? No questions? All right, so here is my quick task for you. Please type into the chat why you joined social media. So if you're on social media, any kind of social media, what was the main motivator for joining? And we will listen to the Jeopardy music while we're waiting. So Megan's saying to connect with friends. Melanie joined to promote their organization. Susie wants to learn about local events and be a better organizer. Erica wants to keep in touch with friends. They're going fast here, so I'll see if I can catch them. Kathy wants to connect with friends and family. Sharon wants to connect with people in college. Mike wants to see pictures of others. So you can hear this kind of consistency, lots about friends and family across the country sharing pictures. Again, we're seeing a few people who want to learn about other organizations, but just I think that this really, truly underscores this concept that, most people are not joining, even a very specific community. I mean, you guys are hopefully the core of your constituents. Other people who care about water-focused issues, you're the core constituents here. And you're not necessarily on these channels to interact with other like organizations. So we need to think about what can we do that meets these different interests and these different requirements. How can we encourage ourselves to be more social? How can we encourage our organization to be more image friendly, to be more comedy friendly, to be more event friendly, to be more resource friendly, so that we can truly take the best advantage of social media? Thanks for sharing, everyone. Well, the way we start here is by really critically thinking about our goals. Goals are absolutely essential in this mix, and they're going to help to guide us through the process. So, without goals, how do we know if what we're doing is working? How do we even know what to do? Now, we can take a scattershot approach to social media, but I promise you a scattershot approach is not going to be nearly as effective as a strategically targeted approach around a specific set of goals and missions. So you want to think about your goals to identify who you want to reach and what you want to reach them doing. So here we come back to the chat, and I want to see, just quickly, what do you want to achieve by using social media? You don't have to write a book here, but, a single word or a quick phrase, what are the things that you guys are thinking about when you are approaching this question of what in the world do we do with social media? So we want to extend memberships, build awareness, let people know about events, have more people connect with what we're doing, increase awareness of the organization, inform members about activities, gain visibility. We want to, get a higher profile and connect to the community, provide public education, broadcast events and partner organizations, encourage people to take action, educate people on our issue, event promotion, increasing membership. So across all of these things, we're definitely seeing some trends, and let's make sure that we've caught them all. A first trend seems to be kind of in this education world. We're going to provide information. We want to make sure that people know what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it, building awareness about the mission, and making sure people know where to go when they're supposed to go someplace, take part in some kind of event. We also want to build the community. So we want to grow our membership. We want to create excitement in the community. I like that wording that Teresa put up there. Lots of event promotion, getting people engaged in the content and the concepts so that we are not just single people out there interacting, but we're all kind of banded together to interact together as a group or as a community. And then I didn't see much of this, but I think part of it is inherent in the building membership and in getting people to events and these different kinds of things, which is raising funds. So this is probably the hardest thing to do with social media and the often least effective, but it is valuable to think about how social media can help you to raise money, be it potentially indirectly, but something that seems valuable. We hear a lot from organizations. And I think, of ones that we missed, it looks like a specific point around advocacy seems worthwhile to add as an additional goal, kind of pulled out from the make sure that we are providing information. It's getting people ready to interact based on advocacy. All right. So if we've got these kind of 4 overarching goals, we want to take those 4 buckets and turn them into something that is really going to lead to effective engagement down the road. So, you can go back, and actually let's dive back for a second to our very first image here. So if we're thinking about the importance of goals, our goals of providing information and advocacy and raising funds and getting people involved, building that community, they're all really powerful goals. But we want to make sure. So I know a lot of you have probably used a SMART goals process in the past. All of the goal setting that you are doing in your organization, goal setting around program outcomes, goal setting around organizational outcomes, whatever kind of framework or format that you're using in those kind of organizational goal setting processes can 100% translate to your social media goals. We often encourage people to use SMART goals because that's something that we're frequently familiar with. But personally, it doesn't matter to me what kind of goal setting technique you're using, but going a little bit deeper than building awareness or getting people to events and trying to be as specific and as targeted as possible is going to lead you to be able to be more effective with your actual implementation. So let's quickly jump back to engagement. So, all of these goals are going to lead to the realization that building engagement, getting people more involved is the key to success. We need to move from what we would consider, kind of people liking us. Yeah, I'll look at that organization, I guess. People knowing about us, but not necessarily being our crazy advocates. And we want to move them through a process to being completely in love with us, to being our biggest fan, to being the individual that absolutely supports us in every way. Now, I want to ask you guys, so get ready. I promised you there was going to be a lot of engagement here. And promise you also that that's on purpose because you'll consistently see that I'm asking for your feedback. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know how you interpret these things. Well, honestly, I am modeling some of the stuff that I want you to be doing on social media. So, it's not just a time filler. It's actually thinking critically about how many times can you ask questions? How many ways can you get people involved in something that is presumably static? Because, clearly a webinar could be completely static. I could sit here in my office here in Portland, Maine and talk at you guys for an hour and a half, but we're trying not to do that because that's not nearly as engaging as you working with the information. So for you guys, what does engagement mean? What does it mean to you? What does this term mean? We're going to try and create a little definition. Yes, so and I am not as good at the tap dance during the middle of information entering. So great, I'm seeing some good stuff. So Lisa's saying, so from her, engagement means getting people to take an active role in a set objective. Wonderful. I think that's a great definition. What else? What are we thinking? What does engagement mean for you? The spark of recognition and the joy when the organization is mentioned. Wonderful. So getting people involved and active, asking audience questions and getting feedback, having interesting and meaningful interactions. Gretchen has gone specific for social media. So on social media, commenting on posts, sharing them, etc., in general dialogue instead of speech. Caring and volunteering, having a dialogue, taking action. I think all of these things together are truly going to, for us, define engagement. It's going to help us to think about all of these different activities as the word that really resonates for me is, a few of the words, interaction, involvement, dialogue. And then you'll see here in a lot of these different comments that you guys are putting in, engagement also means doing something that has an impact on your community or has an impact on your mission. And so that's a really valuable thing here. As we talk about engagement, we're going to talk about multiple steps for engagement. And I think of all the things that you guys have put in here, they're going to fall into many of these different levels of our pyramid. Now, our pyramid of engagement, technically, I would say maybe starts at the orange level with listening and responding, but it's very, very hard to have engagement without actually having any followers at all. So we include this red level of attracting followers as the very base of engagement. So using our definition of engagement, getting people involved, changing behaviors after learning, I like having a dialogue, getting people to do something that actually impacts our organization in some way, shape, or form, and having them feel like they're part of the community is moving in kind of a four-step process. We're going to start off by finding the people that we want to engage. So we're going to talk about attracting followers, bringing people into the fold, getting them excited about what it is that we have to offer, and encouraging them to interact with us in different kinds of ways. We are then going to move into our interaction steps, which would be listening and responding. So this is when somebody initiates some kind of engagement with us, some kind of dialogue or conversation, we are going to show them that we're listening, and we're going to respond when it's necessary or valuable or an opportunity to respond. After we've gone through our stage of listening and responding, we want to make sure that we encourage interaction, which is on our green level. Encouraging interaction is almost probably 75% of what you're going to be doing on social media. You'll find, especially tools like Facebook, that most of what we think about as engagement is what we were going to put into this green encouraging interaction. These are things that are getting people to have that dialogue, to go back and forth with you in the social media tool itself or in the online sphere. And then when we get to take action, we're going to try and get people to move from, engaging with us in the social media world to engaging with us outside of the social media world. That's taking them from being a social media supporter to being an activist, to being a volunteer, to showing up for an event, to being a donor, what have you. Now, throughout this whole process, we need to make sure that we're looking at the balance between the value that you are providing and the value that you're looking for. Because certainly we talked about the things you're looking for. You're looking for people to become activists. You're looking for them to learn information and know where to show up for different events. You're looking for them to become part of the community. You're looking for them, hopefully, potentially, to donate some money or to become donors in some kind of way. Those are the things that provide value for you. We need to make sure that we balance all of this out with providing value for them. So what is the value? And this goes back to our introduction here. What really is the value that our constituents are looking for? They want that opportunity to be social. This is the core question of how in the world do we break through all of that super social interaction and not just be an add-on, something that can be skimmed over or ignored, but part of the stream of social interaction. Now, absolutely what that translates into is not shouting at people. We see this a ton on social media channels, that they really truly are designed to be social, and even a lot of us know and remember and truly embrace the concept that they're supposed to be social. We're supposed to be working towards that dialogue, but we forget because we just got to make sure people know when that event is happening. And we just got to make sure that people know that this is a really important issue. And we somehow, when we sit down and we actually start to type out that social media thing that we're doing, we start to shout. And we really want to move away from that and try and effectively not shout and try and effectively provide value. So, think about, and actually I recommend you draw out a pyramid and make a clear case statement, not something in such a formal term, but, write down what value are you providing for your constituents, and are you hoping to provide for your constituents at each one of these stages. So, you're offering a place for people to ask questions, to learn, to stay informed, to join in. You are telling people and acknowledging and giving them a chance to feel heard and answer questions. You're building the community. You are connecting people to something wonderful, whatever it might be. Brainstorming for each one of the stages of the pyramid, what value you are providing, and on the other side of the pyramid, remember there were arrows of value going up both sides, what value you're getting from each one of those stages of the pyramid. And actually looking at that is going to help you to put in context and act as a reminder. I have a bulletin board right behind my monitor. I would say put that up. I used to have something very similar to that when I was doing our social media up, so that every time I went to post something, I would say to myself, what kind of value am I providing? Is this actually a worthwhile tweet that I'm putting out? And, it wouldn't be a let's deep ponder this kind of thing, but it would be me sitting back and just saying, okay, I want to acknowledge that this is actually something worthwhile putting out there. I don't want to add to the noise. I want to break through that noise. So was it doing what I was hoping it would do? Now, you need to ask questions for yourself. What does it mean to actually provide value? Are there services you can offer? Can you give people an opportunity to volunteer online or in person? Is this a portal for getting more involved, to lead people to an event, lead people to some kind of community? Is there information you can share that would be of true value for people? Are there questions you can answer? Are there questions you can ask? Thinking about value is going to really, truly help. And so again, as I just said, before each post, figure out what is the value here. You don't have to go through a dissertation, but think about the value. And I see that Steve is asking a question in the chat, so I just want to pause here and call out to the rest of you as well. Any questions, feel free to type them in, and I'm happy to answer them at this point. Questions or thoughts also. So what does it mean to put up value? All right, so Jocelyn is asking, so can you give an example of a posting that's considered shouting? Of course. So a post that's considered shouting to me, and granted, so I'll give you this example that I feel like is really, truly shouting, but keep in mind we all do these kind of things, and it's okay, but we just want to try and avoid them as much as we can. So shouting to me would be a whole series of posts in a row that say, our event is coming up, register now. Our event is coming up, register now. Our event is tomorrow, register now. Or, hey, we just won this award. Aren't we great? Look at us. We've done this fantastic thing. Those kinds of posts are valuable information that you are putting out, so there's clearly value on your end, but there's not necessarily infinite value on the other side. You can think about shifting those kind of things to be more interactive. So instead of every single post in the series being our events coming up, our events coming up, our events coming up, anybody participate in last year's event, share your pictures. or what do you want to see happen at this upcoming event? Or we're super excited about this event. Have you registered? What's the thing you're most excited about? Questions or statements or things that get people thinking about themselves personally instead of it just being the big megaphone for your organization. So, it's not that we're never going to shout out those things, because certainly we need to find that balance, and you'll see that in the slide in a second. We need to find that balance between our things that are really valuable for our organization and things that are really valuable for our constituents. But the more that we can have our posts hit both of those things, the better. And Steve is asking a question, so one of the ways we use Facebook is to share news stories or general information about our river. What's the value in that information sharing? I would say, making sure you're clear on what you're trying to accomplish. So if you are sharing things that are of legitimate interest for your community, then that has value in and of itself. An interesting article, some general information about the river probably has, interesting fact appeal. I would say if all that you're doing is putting up, kind of static or basic points about the river, you're going to find yourself struggling to identify the consistent value there. But if that is part of your goal, so if your goal is really to provide information and make sure everyone is extremely aware of the state of the river or the water quality of the river, then continuing to posts about the water quality of the river or the height of the river, or whatever it might be, or animals found in the river. All of those things have value based on what it is that you've defined. I think what we want to stay away from are kind of a consistent stream that isn't hitting all the different levels of the pyramid. And we'll talk about this as we go a little bit further, that becomes more and more feeling like shouting when it's always the same thing all the time, when there's no encouragement for interaction, when we're just kind of broadcasting information one way and there's never questions on the other side, or there's not encouragement for people to I don't know, take pictures of what level on a big stick next to, this is a terrible example, what level on a big stick the river is at their house. If they've put some, oh my gosh, the river is, all the way up to the bottom of this bridge, those kinds of things are still going to be posting basic information about the river, but they're going to be a little bit more interactive. And so again, the statement is that we're always going to do some amount of shouting in that kind of, you can't see me making air quotes, but I'm making them, and some amount of that kind of broadcasting of information, because we need to have that value on our side, but we also want to try and make it as interactive as possible. So here's our interesting article, what do you think? Or here's this interesting article, have you guys seen any other interesting articles? Ways to just kind of put that dotted line at the end that turns it into a social interaction. And I'm seeing one more question here from Mike. Is it bad to put up posts that express personal opinion or an issue, even if what you're saying is a true statement? Mike, that is 100% going to depend on the mission of your organization, so I can't tell you the answer there. At Idealware, part of our branding as well as part of our mission is to be personally impartial about certain issues. So I would never be able to put up some kind of political statement, because we're completely, we're religiously agnostic. We are issue agnostic. We train people on all sides of different issues. And so for us, that's truly without, outside of what we would or would not post. However, we would certainly put up an opinion on a tool if it's been researched, because that is within our mission. So the question is, are you an advocacy organization and have specific opinions on issues? In which case, then absolutely it's okay for you to put that stuff up. If you find that you're trying to be fairly apolitical, or you're not involved in those kind of things, or you don't want your organization to be involved on one side or the other, then you should stay out of it. So really, that's a question I'd put back to you. All right, so let's keep moving on a little bit. Please keep your questions coming, and I will pop back to them as we continue to go forward. So, and I've been hinting at this particular slide for a little bit here, but the concept is that we need to make sure we're having this balance. So, your constituents want a number of things. They want to know what to do. They want answers to their questions. They want interesting resources. So this goes back to Steve's questions about general information or news stories. And, they probably want advocacy opportunities. They want ways to get involved. So what do you want? Some of those, you want broad buckets, right? We set up our goals. We want community engagement. We want to provide services. We want to build support financially and otherwise for our organization. And we need to figure out, ideally, how to put up posts that do both, do multiple things, something that matches what we want and what they want. But at minimum, you want to make sure that there's at least a balance in the overall volume of the post. That even if some of these things on the right-hand side are a little bit more shouting type stuff, like, hey, our fundraising campaign is coming up, ... make sure you donate. We'd really love some money. With the other aside, do you know that we have a rally coming up? We'd love for you to join. Here are the pieces of information. Here's the point. If you can't participate, please send us a video via our YouTube channel or whatever it might be. Trying to make sure that you're providing that value on either side. Overall, the concept here is to not fake it. Don't be disingenuous with your social media when you're trying to encourage interaction and getting people to take action. You shouldn't be using social media just because somebody told you need to be on social media. And the connector to that is when you're on social media, actually make a point to care about the interaction that's happening or the engagement that's happening. If people are asking questions, if people are making comments on pictures or on posts you put up, or if they're responding to questions that you've answered and you don't really care, you're just doing it because you think that that's what you should be doing, they're going to know, and they're going to stop doing it. So, genuinely responding, genuinely saying, thank you so much for putting up this picture, we love it. Genuinely, when somebody asks a question, making sure that you provide an answer to the best of your ability. All of those kind of things, they'll show. The same goes for when I'm talking to you, and I really don't, if I really didn't care what you were saying, you could tell. The same thing goes for social media. So we need to just keep that in the back of our mind, that if we embrace this desire to be social personally, people will tell, and that's a real positive thing. Questions before we move on? I have seen a number of them. I think we've caught them all. Are there any questions before we move on? So Sue's put up a note here. So I've noticed that people who like our Facebook posts never actually attend, but people who share a post sometimes do. Just curious if you've heard this from other groups or if it relates more to how we're handling the social media usage. In general, people who like your posts are, and she's saying event-related posts. People who like your posts are doing something that is less intense than the people who are sharing the post. So it's not surprising to me that you're seeing way more of the people who share the post showing up to events than the people who just liked the post. I mean, think about what they're actually doing, right? One is just saying, yeah, I like that. I'll give you a little thumbs up. There's very little implication associated with that. There's a small show of support, but it's not necessarily being broadcast to everyone, and it's not so active. There's both physically a lot more work, relatively involved with sharing a post. So if I share a post, I actually have to decide who I'm sharing it with, and I need to type in who I'm sharing it with, and I need to maybe make some kind of note, and it is actually going more permanently on my wall on Facebook. It's more part of my personal record when I'm sharing it, and so there is more involvement or implicit in that particular activity. So it's not very surprising. I think the more that you can encourage people to share things, the more they will be be trained to share things, and as a result, when somebody shares something, it becomes a little bit more public as well. So I'm putting on record. I did this for, I started running about a month ago, and I didn't tell anybody for a little bit of time. I was like, oh, I'm doing this thing, but I'm not going to publicly announce it, because when I publicly announce it, oh my gosh, then I'm really doing it. And I don't want to look a fool by stopping doing it. And I want to, if I'm doing it, I really want to continue because I've made it public. And it's that same kind of public acknowledgement that I think that you're seeing here in the actions that people are putting forth. Great question. All right. So I'll kind of leave you on this last point here, which is, thinking about what you can do to provide value to your constituents. And again, this needs to be kind of a consistent piece throughout the conversation that you're having. All right, so let's talk about practically actually doing engagement. Here we're going to go through each one of the stages of the pyramid, and we're going to look at what I actually mean and what some examples would be in the theoretical sense. And then we're going to look at some actual examples that have been pulled from organizations who are all water-focused in some kind of way. So a lot of them are river organizations that are part of the river network, and some of them are lake organizations, some of them are ocean organizations, but they've all kind of got similar themes to you. Many of the examples are pulled from Facebook. But that's not because I think that Facebook is the only place to go. It's simply because when we're looking for real-life examples, we have found through trial and error that, in fact, most people are doing these things well on Facebook, or rather, if there's a place that they're doing these kind of things well, it's going to be on Facebook. So we've kind of learned over time that it's fairly fruitless to do a search for a needle in a haystack on things like Twitter. And so all of the concepts that I'm presenting will translate to the other tools, but most of them will be Facebook examples. All right, so disclaimer aside, let's go through. Now, the very bottom of our pyramid, that red level, is on attracting followers. When we're talking attracting followers, we really are talking about this concept of offering exciting things. Keep people hungry for more. Get them salivating when they're looking at what it is that you have to offer so that they get involved. And here we're really talking about different strategies to get people in the door. And whether that is asking constituents to invite their friends, because we all know that when somebody you trust asks you to do something or gives an endorsement of something, that has a lot of staying power and really does influence people. You can think about asking influencers to promote your page. So what that means is potentially somebody who is well known in your community, that has a lot of friends or fans or followers or whatever the proper term is to use for whichever social media tool you're focusing on, getting them to say, hey, this is a great organization and they're posting great stuff and you should follow them. Maybe it's the mayor of a town that you're excited about. Maybe it is one of your board members, whatever it might be. Finding that kind of core person who collects friends and seems to be very, very active in the social sphere, and seeing if they might recommend you. You can also think about and should think about where you've been telling people and how you've been telling people that you actually exist on these tools. The biggest way, if you're not doing this, to attract followers is to actually let people know that you are there. So on your website, there should be an easy and obvious link to social media, whatever channels you're using, on your homepage. There should, as well as on the connect with us or talk to us or email us page. You also want to make sure in your emails, maybe in your email signature, putting in the fact that where people can find you on Facebook, and if you're on Twitter, where they can find you on Twitter, etc. You can think about actually sending an email. So if you've got a newsletter, including it on the sidebar and the bottom of the newsletter. Hey, did you know that we have a YouTube page? Here's the information. And even think about your business cards. How do you find your organization on Facebook on your business card? Or what's your Twitter handle? Those kind of things can actually go fairly far if you are a face-to-face kind of organization where you're actually handing out business cards on a regular basis. You can think about doing some kind of campaign with an incentive or a contest. These kind of things are a little bit tricky, so you need to be careful about the channel that you're using and make sure that you're following all of the appropriate guidelines for your state with things like raffles and games of chance type of contests. But it is absolutely okay for you to do something like a photo contest where people are taking pictures of the river that they're excited about and asking, you ask them to post them to your Facebook page. And then ask people to vote via your Facebook page by clicking like on the pictures that they are excited about, something like that. Those kind of things really do work. All things aside, you want to make sure that whatever the reward is for your campaign, that it is something connected to your mission. So if you're handing out an iPad, you're going to get a lot of followers who don't really care about your mission. If you're handing out a calendar of pictures of the river that people have submitted, you're going to get a lot more genuine followers. Overall, the concept here is to tell people, make sure that they know that you're there. So here are some of our examples. Here at Freshwater Future, you can see up in this right-hand corner the Facebook. This is how you find us on Facebook. This is how you find us on Twitter. We want to make sure that we are interacting there and that we're letting people know. Here, again, who are we? We're the Alliance for the Chesapeake Bay, and follow us on all these tools, which looks like a whole lot of tools. Seems hard to manage. But, follow us, and here are the places where you can connect with us. In terms of posts, it is absolutely encouraged, if you have a lot of people on one channel, to encourage them to interact with you on other channels. So, for example, we can look at here that we are, setting up a new group. So here is a Association of State Wetland Managers who has created a blog and a Pinterest page, and here's how you find us on Pinterest. You can think about, encouraging people in other ways. Here's how you sign up for our email list. Don't forget, here's a request for getting people to share something. Don't forget this event on your wall today. You could win a free ticket to the best party of the year, but you have to tag the society to be eligible. Those kind of things can be really effective and efficient. Here's another one. Be sure to tell your friends that today is the last chance to like us on Facebook and to win a free rain garden. Those different kinds of things are all definitely encouraged. The cross-posting that, hey, we have a blog, or hey, did you know that we're on Twitter? Requests for people to be part of some kind of competition or to pay attention to the page because you're going to announce something really, really important via your Facebook page, so people should like you to check it out. Questions, comments, or thoughts before we move to kind of a next stage? So Lisa's asking a question, which I think we can answer a little bit later, which is if you have one or more social media tools available on your website, how do you encourage management of those pages? We're going to talk at the very end about a content calendar, and so let's save that question for a content calendar, if that's okay. And so Thomasina is asking a similar question. So I've heard that in terms of social media, a group should pick one social media platform and do it well rather than scattering on multiple platforms. And your thoughts on this? Thomasina, I 100% agree. It is valuable for you to pick just one or two channels, whatever it is that you feel like you could really accomplish and do. Before you really think about doing many other tools. You want to make sure that you are really thinking about approximately, I think the numbers are somewhere between 2 and 4 hours per tool that you'll need to do it really well and to have success. So if you don't have 2 to 4 hours per tool, to allocate to Facebook or to allocate to Twitter, then you shouldn't be doing 8 because, that's a huge amount of time. making sure that you can, like you said, do one well is going to be very important. All right. So Susie wants clarification. So is that 2 to 4 hours per day or per week? That is per week, so it's 2 to 4 hours per week is the general information that we're finding from our website. So 2 to 4 hours per week, and that includes planning what it is that you want to do. That includes actually posting. It also includes measurement. It kind of is all encompassing for all of the mind power that you're putting towards a social media channel during any given week. It should be somewhere between 2 to 4 hours to find success. And Steve is asking, so related to Thomasina's question, we use a Twitter feed to automatically post content from email blasts, blogs, and websites, but it doesn't work well or consistently. Do we know of other tools? Yes, so let me type in here, Hootsuite is a really great tool that you guys could use. I think that just went out with everyone. So Hootsuite is a really great tool that everyone can use to think about scheduling posts, and it'll help you manage not only Twitter, but also help you manage Facebook. All right. I think I've caught most of these questions. There's one or two. So Sue's question about sponsored and paid posts I'll come back to. But I think we're doing pretty well here. Okay, so the next part of our pyramid is around listening and responding. And this one is pretty straightforward. You want to listen to what people have to say, and you actually want to make sure that you're acknowledging to them that what they're doing is seen, and it's something that you care about. So if somebody says, I like it when you show pictures, like I think someone said here in the chat, I love those examples, keep them coming. Thank you, Susie. I really, granted this sounds a little fake, but, it's this kind of example here that, say thank you, respond, show people that you're actually out there and that what they're posting isn't just going into the ether, but it is going somewhere, and that you are seeing it and that you care about it. When we're, so these are some great examples here of people, outside people, posting on pages or sending in information, and the organization actually responding. So, here's a great example from the Grand River Future Vision, where somebody sent in a picture during one of the big floods in April, and they shared it out. It wasn't just that that picture went to nowhere. The picture went somewhere, and it was actually having an impact. Somebody asking here to the Kendallwood Lake Authority, any updates on the lake drawdown plan for the winter? And there were some comments and conversation, and the Lake Authority posts back and says, hey, here's some information. I'm actually answering your question. Here's a comment that somebody made to the Great Lakes Education Program where, my 4th graders loved the field trip today. Thank you so much. This is just a simple thank you with a picture. And the organization wrote back, Lisa, what was your favorite part? What did the students like best? And this is one of my favorite examples of true interaction, because we can see that not only was this a single interaction that happened, but in fact it went further than that. So it was a single interaction that then the organization tried to turn and flip into a continued interaction. Not just leaving it and saying, oh, thanks so much, so glad you had a wonderful opportunity, but beyond that. Thanks so much, so glad, hey, what was your favorite part? Can we get some more information about this story? Now, there's also other ways to think about listening and responding, which is that when people are putting up information, they are, so this is a great example of one of the Riverkeeper Foundations putting up some information about illegal discharges from the coal ash waste ponds, and actually having a big conversation. So, here's some information from the article, then questions about how to get more involved, or here's some ideas, and then the organization coming back and saying, good idea, let's talk about how to make it happen. I sent you a separate message with my contact information. Now that to me is really, really key because they are, even though the conversation isn't going to continue on social media, they're letting the whole public know that they have not only responded and they're excited, but that they took it so seriously that they're willing to take the conversation offline. And that is a really valuable thing. Over here with American Whitewater, we're seeing posts about an event that happened and then information moving further. So, wow, I wish I'd known about this. I would have come. I live close. And the organization coming back and saying, hey, we would have loved to have you. We invited all these people. Sorry you didn't get to join. Further information can be very, very powerful. So I want to stop and see if anybody has any questions or thoughts about this before we continue to move on. I see, so Gretchen seems to be asking a question. I just want to pause here and think. So, as you think about this, think about ways that you could listen and respond. I think that that's always really valuable. You can think about, what can you do to acknowledge that you're listening? Always just saying, thanks, hey, glad that you liked this, can be really valuable. In addition, you can make sure that you respond with, respond with another question. Don't close out a conversation, but try and encourage it to move forward. All right, so Gretchen's asking a question. What about negative posts? Is it good to engage or ignore if they continue to be negative? So if you find yourself in a conversation with somebody who is just generally negative for negative's sake, that is not a good thing. So you want to try and step away from that and not respond. However, if somebody puts up just misinformation, or if they are unhappy with something in a kind of singular instance, responding and saying, hey, I'd love to talk with you about this offline, here's my information, is a great way to signal to the community not that you just aren't going to tolerate that or that you're not going to respond to it, but that actually you do take it seriously. And misinformation, it's always good to try and correct that effectively. And Steve is asking, so is there a way to export likes and followers on Facebook? And in fact, technically there are some complicated, what feels like a little bit, internet magic kind of ways to pull that information out, but it's not necessarily encouraged on Facebook. So you could do what we would call scraping your Facebook page to collect deep information about people. You can simply assign an intern or someone to collect the names of everybody who has liked you or followed you on Facebook. But if you want to go farther than simply the fact that they have liked you, that's where, to me, it starts to get a little bit icky. But my best recommendation is either there should be some tools, but I'm not super familiar with them. Some of the, yes, so I think Susie is following up, that there are some database tools which will do what we call social CRMs, which will actually collect information on how people are interacting with you via social media, and there's some very expensive tools that will capture and manage all of that information, but my guess is probably well outside of everybody's price range. It certainly is for ours. So tools like Radian 6 or Lithium. But beyond that, while there is some value certainly in knowing that they're interacting with you on Facebook, you probably don't want to spend the vast amount of time kind of consistently capturing that information on a regular basis. Knowing that, Sally liked our page and liked 3 or 4 posts that we put up at different times, I mean, that's valuable information, but for the amount of effort it's going to take to catalog that information and get it into your database, it's probably not super valuable. So I'm seeing Denise is asking, so from another direction, can you ask MailChimp contacts to like you on Facebook? Absolutely. So sending an email and saying, hey, can you guys like me on Facebook, or like us on Facebook? Here's what we'll offer you in terms of value. Absolutely encouraged. I'm trying to parse out some of these questions. So Susie's saying, so not sure if it's even legal to harvest names from Facebook, but some CRMs like Nation Builder can keep track of Facebook and Twitter followers, which is true, which we just talked about. We've been told if they started interacting with you on Facebook, why not keep their comments with them on Facebook versus trying to ship them over to an email list? I would say, so responding to the second question, sorry, I thought that they were connected. You want to try and get people on as many lists of yours as you can. You don't want to shift them from one tool to another tool, but if you can get them on both, then obviously that's super valuable. What you don't want to do is constantly send the same information out to everyone on all tools. So I wouldn't want to post something that's identical on Facebook, Twitter, and on email and on my website, but some different versions or different pieces of information on all those tools that shows value in having interactions with your organization on multiple tools can have some value there. All right, and I'm going to take this one last question from Lisa, and then we're going to move on to our next section, and I will come back to more of the questions as we move forward. So Lisa's question is, can you define what clicking on like actually does and what it means? So there are in Facebook magically 2 different types of likes, which are confusing. On your actual page itself, so on the River Network Facebook page, if you click like on the River Network's Facebook page, that means that you will start to receive in Facebook on your wall. So when I log in as Andrea Berry, I see feed from all of my friends and all of the organizations who I've clicked like. So every post that those organizations put out, or many of the posts that those organizations and that those people put out, I actually see. And the reason I see them is because I've actually liked that person or liked that organization. So that's one of the likes. The other kind of like, which is if you put up a post and I say, hey, I'm leading the class with the River Network. What kind of things do you guys want to hear during the class? That you might click like about, and that is simply just giving me a thumbs up. It's not really doing very much. Occasionally, depending on how much you interact with that organization, it will get posted to your wall saying, ooh, Sally liked Andrea Berry's post about the River Network, but it's not actually doing a ton in that particular perspective. All right, so I see a few other questions. Catherine, if you might be able to capture those, or if the 2 of you could repost them after these questions get cleared, that would be appreciated, and we'll come back to them.
Sure thing.
Thank you. All right, so we're moving up the pyramid to that green level, which is on encouraging interaction. So essentially, this is the heart of what we've been really pushing towards. We want to make sure that we are engaging with all our communications. Everything that we're putting out there, this is when we really want to highlight the fact that there is value for our constituents, and we want to hit that balance of value for us and value for them. So here we can do lots of different things. We can provide resources, we can share events, we can share stories, we can highlight members of the community, we can share volunteer advocacy opportunities, we can ask them questions, we can connections, tons of different things that we could be doing in these different situations. And this is most of what you're going to see when you see some kind of post on social media and you go, wow, that's a really good example. Most of those examples are going to fall into this encourage interaction category. So here we've got 2 from the Huron River Watershed Council posting about the community. So thanks to extraordinary volunteer Ron for presenting to the Oakland County Conservation Stewards Program. Great job, Ron. So that is thanking somebody, it's acknowledging them, it's really, it could go even further, saying, great job, Ron, or please share your appreciation for Ron, some way to get people further involved. But certainly that's enforcing the community and bringing things together. Here we're encouraging interactions simply by the humor. So our website is down as well as just providing really helpful information. Please bear with us while our munchkins work to resolve. This is taking a negative situation and turning it a little more positive. Here we're thinking about, clearly, hopefully your website isn't down all the time, but the comedy to this, or the lighthearted kind of social feature in this post, makes it nice and encouraging of interaction. It could be a really dry comment, but it's not. You even got somebody to like it. Now here for the River Alliance, they're posting something that's really compelling. So, some type of action that we may do so that single-use container can stick around a lot longer than it's intended. If only we could all learn to reduce consumption of single-use items. This is a really engaging infographic that's put up about how long it takes for different things to break down, and it's clearly super shareable. They've shared it from Ripple Life, and what I might have wanted them to see even further is, share this so more people can learn about this, and encouraging people to move forward. But you see they're already getting, 4 shares and 5 likes on this particular piece. Encouraging interaction. These are images from the Grand River Future Vision, and I love these images. They're certainly taking a comedy approach with this one, where they are they're putting the picture. They've got this is actually, I believe, a hotel image where the river was so flooded that the water was up over part of the big windows in the lobby and looked like an aquarium. And they are putting a picture of a big shark coming up as kind of a fun way to encourage interaction. They're getting a lot of likes. They're getting people who are excited about the particular conversation going on. This is actually a real picture of a gigantic fish swimming past, and you can see how much more of a difference this made, in fact, and I'm not quite sure what to take from this, because in fact this one made me laugh, the one over here, but this one made me go, oh my goodness, and I called in the rest of the people from my office to look at this picture because it was kind of outrageous. Compare. Almost so one day apart, same almost exact picture. 311 people liking this big picture with a huge fish, and 538 shares because it was just absolutely amazing of an image. 105 comments compared to 11 and 2. Granted, this is the the one that my arrow is pointing to was the first one, and the other one was the second. Thinking about testing out things like this to figure out what does your community actually respond to, what are they getting excited about, can be hugely valuable for you in this process. You'll find that this may have surprised them that the funny picture got way less of a response than the actual picture of reality. But I think for me, it really encourages the fact that when amazing things happen with your river and with the work that you're doing, sharing them, and certainly for you guys which have such a photogenic mission, focusing on images can be very, very valuable. And then here's a whole bunch more, thinking about encouraging interaction by getting people to share things. So this is a please send us your pictures kind of comment. This one down here is a self-quiz, getting people to learn about bugs and bug ID. This is a crazy picture of some kind of, this is a bryozoa colony found in the river. Really interesting about invertebrates. So this is trying to also promote some kind of event, so it's kind of doing both things. these are really great strategies that you can think of. Where in the watershed is this image? Pictures of, where on the river is this image? Where in our community is this thing? What in the world is this? Here's some fun facts. Things that may not seem necessarily directly related, but are clearly related can be very, very powerful. Things that you find interesting, I bet you the rest of your community is going to find pretty interesting. Denise is making comments here. So the time of day that they posted may have affected views. So I think we're talking, sorry, I missed that, back on this particular picture. Yes, the time of day absolutely could affect views. You guys should think about when if you can see any patterns, absolutely everybody likes things when we post it in the morning, and everybody likes things when we post it at the very end of the day, but nobody interacts with us in the middle of the day. That's valuable information to know, and the Facebook Insights or all the analytics tools that all the other analytics that the other tools will provide for you will tell you some of those things. If you don't see any trend, then I'd say just keep posting. The most effective thing is to post interesting content, which is so much more powerful than posting things at very specific times of day. So I would say, if you can glean anything from your information, then it's worthwhile. If you can't, then do it when it's convenient for you. Don't post everything all at once, so you wouldn't want to post 5 posts all in the morning and then not post anything for the rest of the week. But instead, you want to think about posts that are coming on a pretty consistent basis and popping in and out at different times to try and cover a wide swath of your constituents. And Shannon is continuing on that comment. So I've noticed that the time of day you post can affect how many people comment and like quite a bit. Would you recommend a certain time of day or the morning or evening? It really depends on your constituents. Again, so Idealware's constituents are always looking in the middle of the day, because we're not focused on just kind of general people looking for stuff to do. We're really focused on professionals who, like you guys, are using Facebook during the middle of the day. And so that for us is a huge deal. We post once in the morning and once around noon. But for organizations like you guys who are trying to connect with people outside of their working day, then maybe the end of the day or early in the morning, where when people wake up they might be checking their social media, or around lunchtime, might have more value for you. But as Denise said, then varying times of day can be helpful. How many times a week do we suggest posting? My best suggestion is, so the research suggests that we post somewhere between once a day and twice a day with social media on Facebook, and that resonates a lot to me. I don't quite see much more than that being effective unless you're doing a really specific campaign that you're going to kind of up the amount that you're posting. I wouldn't post less than once a day on a regular basis. Every once in a while you can miss a day. Obviously the weekends are a little bit different. You don't have to post on the weekends, but there are lots of tools that will, as well as Facebook, will allow you to schedule out for the weekends. Twitter, you can essentially post as much as you want. So feel free to post. Best recommendation there is not to post all at once, but to use some kind of scheduling tool that will help you to post on a consistent basis throughout the day. YouTube, it's totally variable. Whenever you've got something to post, post it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Pinterest is probably about the same way. And a blog, you probably want to try and post once or twice a week if possible, although once every other week is okay. Once a month is starting to get too infrequent. All right, so let's keep moving through this. As you can keep putting in some questions. I want you to really think about, what could you do to encourage interaction? What are the different things that you could post that will be more than shouting, that will ask questions, that will give people quizzes, that will show fun pictures, that will make people people love fill in the blanks. So a picture of a fish with a ridiculous face, or a picture of a kayaker doing something silly, and asking people to, put up a caption or to fill in the blank, what is this? This fish is thinking X, or, whatever that might be. Gosh, I hope some of you guys are more funny than I am, would be really helpful in that kind of model. Patricia made a good comment here. So I noticed that our folks like local content, group pictures and activities, and most of our content was about serious stuff. And we saw a shift in the followers when we mix up the content. And I think it's those kind of things that are really powerful. Odds are that resonates true for a lot of you guys. And so thinking about how you can really make it, again, that comes back to social. How can you make it more and more social? The more you can do that, the better. All right, and this brings us to the top part of our pyramid, which is taking action. This is where you want to encourage people to do stuff that's actually going to have some kind of impact on your bottom line itself. So, you want them to attend events or register for things, so, come to lunch, meet people, anything that's going to be social in person or outside of the social sphere. So signing a petition, I would say, also fits into this category because it's kind of going outside of Facebook or Twitter or whatever tool it is, or making a donation also, fits into this category. When we're thinking about taking action, here we're looking at, a call for artists. Hey, help us educate people about stormwater in Mount Rainier. Here we're extending registration. Here's information if you haven't. So again, these are a little bit more shouty than others, but again, this is kind of balancing our two sides of value. What is working for us and what isn't. Here's a fundraising request, so please help us win this $2,000. It's a pretty simple thing that you would have to go do, but is really going to, make an impact on the organization. Or I love this really kind of engagement example from the Blue Water Baltimore, where they're saying 5 reasons to donate online today. It's good for the health of Baltimore. Today is Earth Day. Charm City Run will match your gift. C-Bar will take $10 off your next meal. And the first 10 people to donate $100 or more will get tickets to hear Robert F. Kennedy Jr. speak. This is engaging. It's more than simply the, hey, donate to our campaign. It's kind of helping to move beyond that. Here's a request for volunteers. Can you help clean up? We have a cleanup scheduled for this date. Will you show up? Here's the details and the information. And this one is definitely clearly interactive, engaging. Follow the cat's lead, stay cool at yoga class, and support Wise Water with these insulated never waste bottles. And it's about, it's about the Alliance for Water Efficiency, and it's kind of being lighthearted and engaging and enjoyable. Throughout this entire model, we really want to think about, again, if we are actually doing this kind of shouting piece, if we are putting up the mouthpiece to get people to take action here, we want to think about how can we make things more exciting? How can we make them a little bit more than the straight up, hey, donate. Here we've got, hey, donate. Hey, come volunteer. Hey, buy this water bottle to help us raise money. All of those kind of things are in themselves kind of shouty, but the way that they're posted is making them feel more social. They're making them feel more personal. They're making it feel more like someone's actually out there. A real person is posting this and making it interactive. So, think about always when you're going through this take action piece and you're trying to get people to do stuff, what can I do to make this feel a little bit more social so that it doesn't get passed by? Is there a question I can ask? Can I promote something by getting other people to promote it, like sharing pictures from last year's river cleanup, or telling us what they love about taking pictures and getting involved, or what they love about being part of the Eagle Count, or who knows what it might be that they're actually involved with. asking for that extra step is not putting a burden on your constituents, but instead it's getting them excited, it's getting them involved in the whole process of taking action. And that makes them more excited, that makes it feel more social, like there's other people coming to the party in addition to them or in addition to you. So we have just a few minutes left, and I do want to make sure we get to our next steps and kind of things you should be thinking about when you want to manage all of this stuff, but I do want to see if anybody has any questions. I have not been able to keep up with the conversation about MailChimp going on in the chat, so I apologize for that. But if there's any specific questions associated with that as well, I'm happy to answer them. So any questions, thoughts, or comments before we move on? No? All right. So great. We've gone through this whole process. I've shown you a bunch of examples. You're going to get copies of this. That's really great. You'll be able to look at them again. Okay, so how do I actually make this apply to my own organization? This can be really challenging. So we need to think critically about how can we truly get our marching orders. So ask yourself the question, all right, just spent an hour and a half with Andrea in the River Network. What in the world am I going to take back about this? Well, there are a few things, if you take anything from this class, that I really want you to think about. The first one is think about the pyramid. If you think about the pyramid, if you print this out and you put it up on your wall, if you go through and you do the brainstorm of, what are the value for you and what's the value for your constituents at each one of these different levels, you are going to find that things are a lot easier, that posting is going to be very helpful. Asking yourself, what do you do at each stage that is worthwhile for your constituents is going to make a big difference for you. I would also say, and here is the next thing that you should take away, brainstorm. Sit down with this pyramid and do a big brainstorm. There's space on either side, or you can write it on a big list, depends on how visual you are. What are 10 things you can do over the course of time that might attract followers? What are 10 different posts that you could put together? What are 10 different ways that you can acknowledge that you're listening? What are 10 different ways that you could respond to somebody when they ask a question or when they put up a picture? What are 10 different things that you could do that would encourage interaction? What are 10 different things that you could do that would encourage people or that would get people to take action? And what are different strategies and creative ways that you could post stuff that will shift it from shouting to not shouting, to much more engaging content? In doing a brainstorm like that, you'll truly find that you've got stuff at your fingertips, and it's not an arduous task to remember to do this each time. But if you've got a brainstorm, it's going to automatically kind of get those brain juices flowing and help you move forward to say, oh yeah, that totally makes sense for me. Oh, I know what I'm going to post, or oh yes, this concept that I want to promote, this piece of awareness that I want to make sure everybody knows about, this is a perfect way to do that. You also want to think about, I think there was a question early on about how in the world do we manage all of these tools. My best recommendation to you is twofold. The first is don't forget your goals. So if you think about the goals for each one of your channels, what are the goals for Facebook? Who do you want to reach and what do you want them to do? What are your goals for Twitter? Who do you want to reach and what do you want them to do? What are your goals for YouTube? Who do you want to reach and what do you want them to do? Kind of repeating that over and over again and identifying those goals. That will help you to identify how you manage all of them, because the goals are probably not going to be the same throughout because all the tools are different and they have different audiences and they do different things well. So in identifying tailored goals for each one of your tools, you'll find that you're in a much better position to manage them as a glom instead of as this kind of, confusing mass of stuff that doesn't have definition. And then you want to think about a content calendar. So it doesn't have to be a really super defined thing. It could be so simple as what we're looking at here. Okay, every week we are going to respond to questions every day, if there are any. There may not be any, but if there are, that's the first thing we're going to do. And then, and these are all color-coded for your pyramid, every day we're going to try and do something that is on that green level, which is encouraging interaction. Maybe we will try on Mondays to share a story or an image. On Tuesdays, we're always going to try and ask a question. On Wednesdays, we're going to try and highlight something or someone from the community. On Thursdays, we're going to post about some kind of event in some way. And on Fridays, we're going to share some kind of interesting resource. And then maybe twice a week, we're going to work on building up our list. So we're going to, ask for shares or solicit recommendations. And then 3 times a week, we're going to try and get people to take action, either promoting an event, doing some kind of advocacy, or promoting a program. Now, it doesn't have to be this uber defined, but something like that should be helpful to give you ideas. And you don't necessarily need to do all of these things, but in creating a calendar, you're going to find, and maybe you do a monthly calendar so that you can move through the days so it doesn't feel like every week you're doing something fairly formulaic, although I promise you your constituents won't necessarily notice all that much if you're doing kind of a variety of different things around the same type of mission. But you will find that this will truly help you manage content. And then I 100% recommend that you guys collaborate to avoid duplication. You want to collaborate to improve effectiveness and share content and ideas. My best recommendation would be potentially it's you guys at the River Network who creates this, or it's a different organization who's really excited about this, creates a Facebook group that would be for all of you who are on the phone today, or I guess on the computer today in this class, to share what works and what doesn't. Because we've seen that in the chat. Hey, I'm finding that, I don't know what time is best for us to be posting. What is everybody finding is the best time to post for their constituents? Because you guys all have such similar missions, you're going to find there are similarities for your constituents, or you've all dealt with the same type of problems. Creating a group and all being part of sharing what works and what doesn't work, or here's a really great infographic that I found, you guys should share it out with your community because it got us a ton of likes. All those different kinds of things could be really, really valuable, and that way you can take that step further. So it's not just, Andrea taught us this stuff, and some of it we kind of absorbed, but it's, okay, we've built this platform, and now we're going to have really, truly interactive conversations. All right, so I'm seeing a few questions in the chat. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming today. I hope this was helpful. And I really do encourage you to look at what other people are doing. Your community is doing a lot, as you can see. So find a few people, find a few pages to also follow on your own page. So go ahead and like some of those other organizations that are in your River Network, and see what they're doing, and that'll help you get some really good ideas. All right, I'm going to try and read through some of the stuff that's been happening in the chat. Please do continue to post questions. I can stick around for a few more minutes to answer them, but I'll see if I can answer some of the questions that are going through. So Steve wants to know, an annoying problem with Facebook is I can't tag people's names on a post, even if they like our page and just posted on it. Is there a solution to that? The @ before their name doesn't work. And I think that you've gotten an answer here, but the reality is that sometimes people have set their privacy settings so that they're not taggable by anybody but their direct friends, and the tag is not seeable by anybody but the direct friends. So if you're finding that it's not working, it's because that person doesn't actually want to be tagged. So my best recommendation is to respect their privacy requests and not push it. If they have posted a comment and you want to respond to it, I would respond in the thread, and they'll be notified even if you're not able to post their name as a hot link with the @ symbol, and go forward. I would say, yes, tagging people is really a great way to keep them engaged, but at the same time, tagging people is a little running into infringing on people's privacy if for some reason they don't want to be associated with you, or if they just want to keep themselves private. So making sure that you you just kind of respect and understand what their wishes are before you go ahead and do so. All right, so I'm seeing a question from Sue. So are paid posts worth it? Personally, I hate them, but I'm not always the target audience. There is some research that paid posts or promoted posts are worth it. However, I would say that they cost a reasonable amount of money. So unless you want to experiment with it with a small, like set aside a small amount of money and experiment with some paid posts during a specific campaign, see how it goes. And if you find that it actually is working for your organization, then consider using it on a continual basis. I wouldn't just jump in and not have kind of a measurement strategy for whether it works or not, as well as a goal setting. What is actually going to make this worthwhile? Is it a certain number of constituents being gained? Is it a certain number of likes? Is it a certain number of event registrations who can be traced back to that? Identifying what's actually going to be helpful is going to be, what's actually going to equal success is going to be important there. And Patricia is actually answering that. So I've used paid posts on Facebook, and it got us a much wider audience for actions. Yeah, so things like active advocacy issues, things like promoting some kind of wide event could be valuable, or things promoting something to a very narrow audience. But you want to think about what again, is setting those goals and making sure that the dollars add up to the actual results is important for me. All right. Well, thanks, everyone.